if you walk in my statutes and you keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season. The land shall yield its increase. The trees of the field will bear fruit. And I will give you peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none shall be afraid. I will rid evil beasts from the land, and neither shall the sword go through your land. And he goes on and on. So the idea here is that if we live in this properly ordered hierarchy where God is at the top and everything else is properly ordered, then we live in a well-ordered human enterprise. Things are the way that they're supposed to be. If we don't do that, listen to this. This is on page 417. Willingness to abide by those somewhat arbitrary commandments or traditions, which is a form of sacrifice of mere self-interest, is not least an important indication of ability to delay gratification, take others into account, play by the rules, and put shoulder voluntarily and cooperatively to wheel. So when we all live in that, when we willingly abide by the divinely instituted order and hierarchy, and not merely by self-interest, then things will go well. When we don't do that, then things fall apart, as we can see by the world we live in, right?
Okay. I would say
go.
The study of history says that.
Replete with example of that. Okay, so go to page 419, and this is the alternative. Listen to this. This is page 419 towards the bottom. It's the last full paragraph. When the social order that is true degenerates, when the faith in God that is most truly committed to the sacrificial upward aim vanishes, the terrible tarantula of the slave and the tyrant inevitably begins. Subsidiary responsibility is abandoned, replaced by concentration on the pleasures of the moment. Then the heavy hand of the authoritarian must then be invited to replace the order of generally productive cooperation, competition, and future orientation with the strictures of compulsion and force. This goes back to that conversation from last time about the state, where the tyrant. Okay, so what Peterson is basically saying here is that nobody would want a tyrant to impose order. That's why we should be doing it ourselves. But in order to do that, and he goes on through chapter 8, and this is all, it's perfectly sort of articulated by Peterson as he goes. The only people who are responsible for minimizing self-interest is each of us working cooperatively with one another. In other words, we are our brother's keepers, and we have a responsibility to call one another to task and to make sure that each one of us is not engaging in self-interest, but is instead concerned for the collective good. Because when the human family comes together, then we live, as Peterson said on as God said on page 416 in the book of Leviticus, there's plenty of rain, there's plenty of food, there's peace in the land, evil beasts, there's no sword, etc., etc. It's when we become isolated, it's when we become self-interested, that the bonds of communion break down, and then you have chaos.